Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
Houston Station, I am ready for the event.
CBS News, this is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
ISS, this is Bill Harwood, CBS News. How do you hear me?
Hey, CBS News. Welcome to the ISS. I have you loud and clear.
Hey, thanks, Serena. It's great to talk to you today. I know you've got a really exciting few weeks coming up, starting Monday with the arrival of a new crew. But I guess before I get to that, how's it been going up there with just 3 on board? I was wondering what impact has that crew reduction had on your research?
It's a good question. Honestly, I have to say not much. We've been working pretty hard to get all that science done. We talk with our program managers, and actually they're really happy with the amount that we're getting done. And I feel like I remember just the other day, I felt like I moved through 4 different experiments, one looking at muscle cells, to another looking at material science, to another looking at plants. And so it was amazing just to see the wide swath of science that we'll touch up here every day on the space station. But besides that, you know, we certainly, when that Soyuz wasn't able to make it up here the first time, we do miss those guys. But we are super excited to see this next Soyuz get here on Monday. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I'll bet. You know, it leads right into my next set of questions. I was going to ask what your reaction was to that launch aboard. I mean, that must have been at least a little bit scary to watch or hear about, and how disappointed you were that Oleg and Nick didn't make it.
Yeah, so actually, Alexei and Nick, our first concern was for their safety, and then once we heard from Mission Control that, hey, they found the crew, the search and rescue forces, they were right there, and we were really thankful that the vehicle did exactly what it was supposed to do, which was save the life of the crew in case of some sort of failure, which of course they experienced. So, you know, we do talk about these things all the time within the office. We know that they're a possibility. So at that point, we knew that, hey, regardless, we do miss those guys, but we've got work to do up here, and we've got to maintain the station. So, you know, that first day, it definitely felt weird because we were expecting to welcome a couple new crew members on board, but we kind of just went right back to work, and we knew that folks on the ground were probably going to be up all night for many weeks trying to figure out what happened so they could get the vehicle flying again.
Yeah, and I appreciate you correcting me. I obviously launched the wrong commander there with Oleg. Anyway, you know, at least you got an extra 3 weeks in orbit, I guess, so it wasn't all that bad.
Yeah, you know, it's actually, we were scheduled to undock initially on the 13th, and now we're scheduled to undock on the 20th. And so it really didn't extend us that much. And if you look at the sort of time frame, this next crew that's launching is actually launching earlier. So it was really a tremendous job done by you know, our international partners, the Russians, to figure out what happened with this anomaly so that they could get the vehicles flying again so quickly. It's not an easy task. This is the first time that sort of abort happened during this phase of flight. But we are definitely confident in the vehicle, and I think that really only comes when you train on the Soyuz vehicle as long as we do, which is really a couple years prior to even launching.
You know, I'm obviously mixing up all my missions today, so once again, thanks for setting me straight. Well, let me ask you this, and hopefully I won't mess up this question. If you had to give Ann McClain one piece of advice about life in orbit, life aboard the space station, what would it be?
You know, it's funny, she's already asked me that sort of question, and she said, hey, what's the one thing you didn't expect up there or didn't expect to have to think about as much or work on as much? And I will tell you, it's actually trash management. So we live with our trash up here. It's not as easy as it is at home, where once that stinky bag of garbage in the kitchen is done, you just take it right out to the curb and someone else takes care of it for you. Up here, we really have to be very careful about separating what we call wet trash, or like food items, from dry trash, or even hardware trash, maybe pieces of equipment, and then trying to get all that trash off of station and into one of our visiting vehicles. And right now we have Cygnus docked. HTV just left not that long ago. We put a lot of trash on that. But it's really eye-opening once you get up here to see that, wow, everything up here stays with you until we can find a way to get it down. And if you don't pay attention to it or take a look at how you secure those trash bags just to eliminate odor, it can impact your daily life up here.
I hadn't really thought about that before in that same context anyway. That's interesting. And to continue this busy December theme that you've got coming up here, you've got a SpaceX Dragon launching Tuesday, and I guess it arrives 2 days later. Anything on board you're particularly looking forward to?
Well, the great thing about SpaceX is there's always a lot of what we call critical science, and SpaceX, of course, is the one cargo vehicle that launches, and then when it lands back in the water. It doesn't burn up in the atmosphere. So what happens usually when a SpaceX mission comes up is it's here for maybe about 30 days, and we do a lot of science during that time frame. So, for example, the last time we had a SpaceX vehicle up here, I did some research on cancer chemotherapy, on special cells called endothelial cells, which are cells that line the blood vessels in your body. And the great thing about that is I was doing the research on those cells up here, and I was talking directly with the investigators. And at the end of, about 20 days later, we packed those cells up in a special little box to protect them, put them back on that vehicle, and those researchers had those cells in the ground within a week. So that sort of science is the type of science we do up here during those missions, and it's really exciting because we know that those results are being processed almost immediately on the ground.
Right. So you've got a new crew arriving Monday, you've got the Dragon showing up Thursday, and then the following week you got two of your Russian colleagues, I guess, are going outside for a spacewalk, inspecting your Soyuz MS-09. What's the concern there, and what are they going to be looking for?
I don't know specifically. I know they're going to be inspecting just the integrity of our vehicle, make sure that everything looks okay. Of course, everything on the ISS can get pummeled by what we call micrometeorite debris all the time. And so they're just checking the integrity of that vehicle. We did have that small leak at the end of August, and so they want to make sure everything looks okay prior to us undocking. But yeah, it's going to be super busy. That EVA right now is scheduled for the 11th. Of course, a few days before that, like you mentioned, SpaceX, and a few days before that, a Soyuz. So right now the crew up here, we know we don't have many days before we undock, and we're trying to get all of our our personal items, our personal goals that we had set out for ourselves completed up here, because once that ball gets rolling, those last 15 days or so, it's going to move really, really fast.
What are you going to miss the most about life aboard the station when you come back? What are you going to look back on and say, that was just the best?
It sounds kind of simple and cool, but floating everywhere is pretty awesome. And I love being able to work on any surface. I love being able to just kind of bound over people. And at first when you get up here, you're this really ungraceful ballerina that can't manage anything. And you still run into things even after 6 months up here. And sometimes it's still hard, like it is right now, for me to get back down to the ground. But 1 second there. But this is my favorite part, and it lets you work in 3 dimensions, and you just realize what your body's able to accomplish up here that you just don't do on Earth. And so, honestly, that is what I'm going to miss the most. Of course, looking outside and seeing the Earth is absolutely beautiful, but watching the way the human body adapts to being up here is amazing.
What are you looking forward to the most when you get back on Earth?
That's easy. Family. That's what you miss the most up here. I don't think you ever really get used to it. You have reminders, we have pictures, we get special video conference calls, but it's not like being in the arms of your loved ones. And so that is what the 3 of us up here, that's what we talk about the most whenever we get together, and we eat dinner together every night. We're talking about family. Right. We're showing each other pictures of family. And if I had to pick a second best after family, it'd be the smells and just the feelings of Earth. For example, the wind, the rain. We were watching a video the other day, and I remember being very jealous of watching somebody stand by the ocean, because I knew they could feel the wind and they could smell the sea, and we can't do that up here.
Serena, let me ask you one last question. The day after you land is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 8 launch, which some of the old-timers say was the most daring mission NASA ever launched. Any thoughts about that milestone as you wrap up your own trip in space?
I think the thing that stuns me the most up here, first of all, it's incredible. The space station itself is incredible. It's huge. It's this massive laboratory, and I have been so impressed by the science we're doing. But just the other day, and I tell folks, looking out the cupola and watching Cygnus pull up, and to watch these vehicles routinely pull up to station like we do it all the time, and park and drop off things and then take back off, and then another vehicle comes up, like SpaceX is very shortly. That, to me, is amazing. So if you look at the progress we've made since Apollo 8, I think the human experience is still very much the same, but so much has been driven technologically, and so many improvements have been made on Earth because of what we've done up here. It's worth taking a step back to reflect on that. Houston, comm check on 2.
Houston station, comm check. Copy that, thanks.
Us photos like this of our planet. Station, this is Marty Caniglio with KUSA. How do you hear me?
Hey, Marty with KUSA. I have you loud and clear. Welcome to ISS.
Well, thank you so much. This morning, Serena Auñón-Chancellor is one of them. She joined in Expedition 57. She's also the first female Hispanic astronaut to live on the space station. She is joining us now live from the International Space Station. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning, Serena. Can you tell us what's your journey been like so far in space?
It's been fantastic. Certainly full of lots of surprises, but it's gone by surprisingly fast. I think the most favorite part for me up here, no question, is the science. I've been very, very impressed at a lot of the experiments we're doing, certainly to impact human health, but also material science research. We've grown plants up here. So honestly, again, that's my favorite part, and it's been a lot of fun.
Do you have any of the specific experiments or tests that you're doing that are some of your more favorite ones?
Yeah, actually, there's one going on right now that just came up on our Cygnus vehicle, and that's a special experiment to look at Parkinson's disease. It's looking at something called a protein kinase, but basically it's a protein crystal structure, and scientists are trying to grow it up here on the space station because they get better quality crystals, more 3D and bigger crystals up here. And the reason we want that is because they want to investigate that protein to take a look to see if they could target it with a specific drug. And until scientists get a good look at the structure, they can't figure out where the best place to maybe create a drug that helps to inhibit Parkinson's disease or to treat Parkinson's disease could possibly work. So it's very special for our crew to know that we are working on something as important as this. We know that this directly impacts human health.
And Serena, obviously these kinds of emissions are important to you. You are living in space. Tell us why you think these missions and these kinds of experiments are important to mankind in general.
You know, I think they're important because we've learned, certainly in the past few years, that for whatever reason, this area up here in ISS, in microgravity, there are certain experiments that we can run up here that you cannot run on the ground. So I mentioned the one about Parkinson's disease to look at 3D protein crystal structure. Well, we can't grow those protein crystals on the ground very well, so we sent them up here and we're able to look at them a lot better. Another example is we have types of cells in our body that line our blood vessels. Those are called endothelial cells. And scientists realize that they really like to grow up here in the space environment. They don't grow terribly well on Earth, but up here they grow really well. And what that allows scientists to do is to look at things like chemotherapy agents that might stop a tumor's blood supply. They can test those up here a lot better. So I think what folks and universities and even private companies are discovering is that this ISS environment, specifically the microgravity environment, offers a unique place to test things that we cannot test anywhere else on the planet. That's why I think it's important to mankind, specifically because it impacts the health of everyday people. Everybody you know. You've known someone with cancer, you've known someone with Parkinson's disease, and so to be able to feel like we're making a difference up here because we know we can't do this anywhere else, it's very special to us.
Thank you so much, Serena, Aunon-Chancellor, up in the International Space Station this morning. We'll be right back.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you, all participants from CBS News and KUSA-TV station. We are now resuming operational audio communications.